What do you get when you mix Edwardian charm, reckless driving, and a frog with a taste for motorcars? For Walt Disney, it was a decades-long passion project, but the road to the Wind in the Willows was anything but smooth. Detours, delays, and wartime shutdowns nearly left Mr. Toad stranded on the side of the road.
That's better.
Hi, I'm Dennis. Classic Disney animation has always been one of my greatest passions, and West of Neverland is where I get to share those stories with you. Today we're exploring the wild ride that brought the Wind in the Willows to life at Disney.
The jolly old road that goes to Plymouth. Oh, no!
From its literary roots in the early 1900s to its release as part of the Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad in 1949, this segment had a long and surprisingly bumpy journey. The Wind in the Willows began in 1908 as a collection of bedtime tales Kenneth Grahame told his son Alistair. Initially met with lukewarm reviews, the book eventually grew into a beloved classic. Grahame is also remembered for another Disney-adapted tale, The Reluctant Dragon, a unique hybrid of package film and behind-the-scenes studio tour, released in 1941. That film included Goofy's How to Ride a Horse and the limited animation storyboard sequence Baby Weems.
I'm awfully sorry, Dr. Einstein, but this reverses your whole basic theory.
Alongside live-action footage of the studio during production. By 1938, Walt Disney had his eye on Grahame's Riverbank World. He tried and failed to acquire the rights to A.A. Milne's play Toad of Toad Hall, but that same year he did secure the rights to The Wind in the Willows itself. It was an ambitious time for the Disney studio. Bambi, Dumbo, and Willows were all in development, but as war loomed and finances tightened, the studio faced mounting pressure from its bank. There were doubts that a genteel British tale about talking animals would appeal to American audiences.
A regrettable habit still. Rat had more or less learned to put up with it, and so as usual, sorry Rat, says Mole, quite all right, says Rat, 2 lumps if you please, says Mole, and then...
And the production was paused. In one studio legend, an animator left for military service during World War II, only to return years later and pick up where he left off on the exact same scene. In 1943, Walt floated the idea of pairing The Wind in the Willows with Mickey and the Beanstalk, but that idea also failed to gain traction. Mickey and the Beanstalk was instead paired with the story of a circus bear named Bongo in the package film Fun and Fancy Free. By the late 1940s, Disney's version of The Wind in the Willows was finally back on track, this time as a segment in the 1949 package film The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. The animators transformed the story's contemplative tone into a brisk courtroom caper centered on the enthusiastic, unpredictable Toad. Among the memorable voice cast are Basil Rathbone as the narrator. He was best known for his portrayal of Sherlock Holmes. The character of Rat even takes on some Holmesian traits in the film, including a deerstalker hat and pipe, likely a nod to Rathbone's iconic role. Mr. Toad himself was voiced by British character actor Eric Blore, whose signature fluttery delivery made him a natural choice.
N? No, not M, N. N as in neighbor. Neighbor, N-E-I-G-H-B, B. B. Bzz, bzz. You know, the stinging insect.
Blore was a Hollywood staple in the 1930s and 40s, often cast as comic butlers and waiters in films like Top Hat with Fred Astaire.
Good evening, sir. Good evening. Allow us to introduce ourselves, sir. We are Bates, sir. Oh, really? We are Jerry Travers.
Cyril Proudbottom.
Hi, that's me. A bit of a trotter, a bit of a rotter.
Toad's fast-talking horse companion was voiced by J. Pat O'Malley, a versatile performer across stage, radio, and film. O'Malley would go on to voice numerous characters for Disney, including multiple roles, like Tweedledee, Tweedledum.
If you think we're waxworks, you ought to pay, you know. Contrary to us, if you think we're alive, you ought to speak to us.
The Walrus,
The time has come.
the Carpenter,
Yes, and should we get hungry on the way, we'll stop and have a bite.
and even the oysters in Alice in Wonderland.
We can begin the feed.
You might also recognize his voice from Mary Poppins as the pearly drummer.
For example,
Yes?
one night I said it to me girl, and now me girl's me wife. Oh, and a lovely thing she is too.
And the Master of Hounds.
Good morning, Lily.
Oh, yes, quiet. What?
In 101 Dalmatians as Colonel.
Tibbs. Oh, yes, Sergeant Tibbs.
Jasper.
Hey, look, Horace. Watch me Potty's lordship smack on the conch.
And a mechanic.
Oh, that ought to do her. At least she'll get you back to London.
And the Jungle Book as Colonel Hathey.
Soldier, remember in battle that trunk can save your life.
And Buzzy the Buzzard.
First I say, what we're gonna do. Then you say, I don't know, what you want to do. Then I say, what we're gonna do. You say, what you want to do. What we're gonna do, what you want. Let's do something.
I think Buzzy the Buzzard even kind of looks like him. And the voice of the courtroom prosecutor was provided by John McLeish.
Good fellow, eh? Throws it away. But he wasn't throwing it away that day. You heard Mr. McBadger testify that his allowance was cut off. Whose delivery is instantly recognizable to fans of Goofy's how-to and art of shorts. The proper costume. Not yet. The greatest care should be taken in the cut of, oh, all right, come on.
But the gruff and no-nonsense Angus McBadger wasn't voiced by a professional actor at all.
Oh, didn't I tell you?
Instead, he was voiced by a Disney animator and storyman Campbell Grant. Grant had worked on major features like Fantasia, Pinocchio, and Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Hi, diddly-dee, an actor's life for me.
Hi-ho, hi-ho.
But here he brought a perfect Scottish bluster to McBadger.
He's got a new mania. He's rampaging about the county in a canary yellow gypsy cart with a horse named Cyril.
An expanded version of the Mr. Badger character from the book. Behind the scenes, color stylist John Hench helped define the visual world of Toad Hall, a look he would also bring to life in illustrations for the Big Golden Book adaptation, Adventures of Mr. Toad, released that same year as a cross-promotion. And of course, no Disney story would be complete without music. The score for the Wind in the Willows segment was composed by longtime Disney composer Frank Churchill, but it's the catchy The Merrily Song that really stays with you.
Merrily, 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 merrily on our way to nowhere but you long.
It's sung by Toad and his horse, Cyril Proudbottom, as they gallivant across the countryside in a gypsy cart, merrily on their way to nowhere in particular. Larry Morey and Ray Gilbert wrote the lyrics. Morey had previously teamed with Churchill on iconic songs like Snow White's Hi-Ho and Someday My Prince Will Come.
Hi-ho, hi-ho, it's home from work we go.
Someday my prince will come.
While Gilbert had written the lyrics for Zippity-Doo-Dah in Song of the South.
Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay.
Released 3 years earlier. Together, their work on the Merrily Song adds another memorable musical moment to Disney's golden era.
We're not so sure but what do we care? We're only sure we've got to be there.
And if you're enjoying this deep dive into Disney history, hit the like button and subscribe. I've got many more stories like this coming your way. The Wind in the Willows finally made its debut as the first half of The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad in 1949. In this adaptation, Mr. Toad's reckless obsession with motorcars leads him into a swirl of legal trouble when he's falsely accused of theft. His loyal friends Mole, Rat, and McBadger launch a daring effort to clear his name, leading to a showdown with a gang of weasels who have taken over Toad Hall. Of course, once exonerated, Toad quickly pivots to his next grand obsession, airplanes. Upon release, the Mr. Toad segment received a mix of enthusiastic praise and tempered response from critics. Showman's Trade Review on August 27, 1949 called Disney's Toad one of the most endearing creations, adding, "Laughs and action follow the irresistible chap everywhere he turns. Ichabod and Mr. Toad is a prize item and ranks with the best Disney has brought to the screen." Movieland magazine struck a similarly positive tone, describing the short as the wild adventures of a wild and reckless sportsman. The review called Toad a monocled frog with a love of excitement bordering on insanity, and concluded that though there's really no moral to the story, you'll enjoy and envy Mr. Toad's carefree life. But not every review was fully convinced. Screenland in September of 1949 praised Basil Rathbone's narration, but felt that Mr. Toad's madcap antics fall short of expectations, speculating that perhaps toads, any toad, don't appeal to some folks. Even so, it acknowledged the strength of the voice cast, noting that their voices sometimes outstep the visual material. Taken together, these early reviews highlight just how distinctive Mr. Toad was within Disney's catalog. Critics may have differed in their tastes, but they agreed on the strength of the performances, the energy of the animation, and the irresistible spirit of the film's most unpredictable and uncontrollable character. By the way, if you're curious about my sources, I've linked to them in the video description, along with some Amazon links that if you clicked on those, that would help support the channel and help me keep bringing videos like this your way. Even though The Wind in the Willows was just one half of a package film, Mr. Toad's legacy lived on in some surprising ways. At Disneyland, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride was one of the original opening day attractions in 1955. This ride sends guests on an adventure that's wilder than the film itself. Riders board a motor car and crash their way through Toad Hall, the countryside, a courtroom, and even a hellish final scene that doesn't appear in the movie at all. The chaotic humor, tilted perspective, and breakneck pace feel right at home in Toad's world. In fact, you don't see Mr. Toad in the ride at all. I think that's because you're supposed to be Mr. Toad going on that ride yourself. Despite closing at Walt Disney World in 1998, the Disneyland version remains a fan favorite, one of the few attractions still rooted in a single animated short. This short also received new life on television and home video. It was shown as a standalone feature in the Disneyland television series where Walt himself introduced the segment. In that broadcast, he offered a brief biography of Kenneth Graham.
Kenneth Graham held a responsible position in the world of figures. He was the official acting secretary of the mighty Bank of England.
And paired The Wind in the Willows with the studio's earlier adaptation of The Reluctant Dragon, another one of Graham's works.
Too bad you're not a real dragon instead of a punk poet.
Punk poet? Ooh, say that again.
Punk poet.
Again!
Even later, it would be released on home video as a self-contained feature, The Wind in the Willows, introducing new generations to Toad's whirlwind antics outside of the context of the original package film. Toad also left a mark on Disney's animation process. While reusing bits of animation was a cost-saving measure often employed in the shorts, it really didn't become a standard practice in the features until 1967's The Jungle Book. In one sequence where Mowgli is rescued from King Louie's monkey gang, the entire climax was adapted, nearly frame for frame, from the original battle between Mole, Rat, and the Weasels at Toad Hall, with the new characters being drawn over the older elements. Still, many animators at the time found this kind of repurposing more difficult than creating new animations outright, since the characters had to match the original timing and motion exactly while looking completely different on screen. And if you blink during Who Framed Roger Rabbit, you might miss Mr. Toad, but he makes a surprise cameo just as Eddie Valiant arrives at Toontown. He whizzes past the screen, perched on the back of a fire truck ladder. He zooms past the camera, shouting, "Hey-ho! Hey-ho! Ha-ha!" It's a perfect split-second nod to Toad's manic energy, preserved decades after his first on-screen appearance. More than 75 years later, The Wind in the Willows still stands out for its humor, style, and unforgettable characters. But beyond the history and animation, it's a short that stuck with me personally. I first saw it on the Disney Channel in the 80s, watching it with my mom. We used to sing the Merrily Song as we drove around town, merrily on our way to nowhere in particular, and we'd crack each other up imitating Toad's wide-eyed obsession. Motica?
A motor car? Gad.
There's still a moment that makes me laugh every time when the gang is sneaking back into Toad Hall by boat and they spot a weasel standing guard. Without thinking, Toad blurts out, "I'll pop him off!" and fires a gun.
Got it for life.
lads. There's a garret.
I'll pop him off. Stop,
Don't shoot.
Nearly blowing the whole plan. It's impulsive and perfectly shows what kind of character Toad was. So, do you have a favorite Crazy Toad moment? Leave it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into The Wind in the Willows, I've got another great video right here all about the Legend of Sleepy Hollow segment from the same film. Click here and I'll see you real soon.